I know as you sit down, I can read all of your minds already. Has 2020 not been crazy enough that we got to put up with this as well? I know that's what you're thinking. Pastor's gone, and now we get the substitute person to fill the pulpit. Have we not endured enough? I get that, and I understand it, but Pastor is gone, and I'm excited that I could be here today and be with you while Pastor's off enjoying his I don't even know what to call it. His nice road trip, reliving his dream on a motorcycle, his hog with his woman. I mean, can it get any better than that for him? And I know he is enjoying his time, and I know that he misses us as well. But I just wanted to tell you that we are going to be in the passage of Luke 17, 11 through 19. Luke 17, 11 through 19 is where we will be in the New Testament there. So while you are finding it, have you ever been asked a question in which the answer was in the question? I mean, we call it rhetorical questions, but they're asked. And the answer's right there, and sometimes you're asked a question, and you're like, do I really answer this? I mean, is this something I should answer? And there's that awkward period of time. You know, it's kind of like when you're younger and your mom says, did you eat the last cookie? Well, yeah, I mean, chocolate chips are all over my face, I'm caught red-handed. Do I really answer this and admit the guilt, or we already know what's been established? Or when your mother says, are you going to do better next time? I mean, seriously, what kind of question is that? No, Mom, I'm going to screw up. I'm going to mess up 100 more times before I get it right. It's just not going to. No, the answer is yes. Yes, I'm going to do better. And if we step forward a little bit more, we know that there's a look, right? If you're married, you've experienced this look. You know, your wife gives it to you. Nothing has to be said, but you know you're going to be comfortable with the dog that night because you're in the doghouse. It's the look. It says everything. In that look is the answer to everything that just happened. And you look and pray and hope that you can do something to salvage it before you go to bed that night. Well, here in this passage we look, Jesus asks some questions. And there's a group of people that are there. There's the disciples, and there's going to be lepers that are there. And he's going to ask a question, and the answer is in the question, but that question has a deeper meaning. When he asks that question, we're going to find out that he means a little bit more than what's said on the surface. And we're going to explore that today in Luke 17, 11 through 19. In verse 11, it says this: on the way to Jerusalem, he was passing along between Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers who stood at a distance and lifted up their voices saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. When he saw them, he said to them, go and show yourself to the priest. And as they went, they were cleansed. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice, and he fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. Now he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus answered, were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to the God except this foreigner? And he said to him, rise and go your way. Your faith has made you well. Now we're going to go through this passage briefly in different verses, but the first thing we get is the overview. Jesus is traveling with his disciples, and many commentators cannot understand why he's in this area, but we know why. It's for this moment here, because Jesus does nothing by mistake. He literally goes out of the way for this lesson that we have here, but he's traveling on the border between Samaria and Galilee. Why is that a big deal? Because that was a racially diverse area. It was a part where there were Jews, Gentiles, and what they looked down upon as Samaritans. So there's all these different races and ethnicities that are together, and they're not always getting along. And then we have that he comes across some lepers. Now, what is leprosy? Leprosy is a disease which basically in biblical times was the kiss of death. That was it. If you had leprosy, you were cast out. In fact, in Leviticus 13, it describes it as follows. The person with such an infectious disease must cover the lower part of his face and cry out, unclean, unclean. As long as the infection remains, he must live outside the camp and remain at a distance of 4 cubits from the leper. Now, if you're wondering how far 4 cubits is, I'll let you guess. 6 feet. So, when we're here, we realize this. Jesus and his disciples have wandered into 2020. That's right, we have quarantine. We have face masks. We have to yell out to one another. We're in a racially divided time in which we have, and Jesus steps into the middle of all of this. So for all of those, on a side note, that say and have friends that say the Bible is antiquated and no longer valuable today, I use the Hebrew expression, pff. I mean, this Bible just told us what's in 2020. We got quarantine, we got everything going on, so this obviously relates to us today, and we have it. But on a serious note, and a side note, this is for free. The Bible will always be valuable through all time periods, just so you know that. And I'm going to tell you why, yes. I'm going to tell you why, because everyone looks to the left and to the right and what side you're on. They want to know where it's at, and they're always looking at the horizontal relationship, but the reason this will always be true is that it is God-breathed, and he deals with the vertical relationship. And in order for horizontal to be right, our vertical must be right. And there's one common denominator between Jesus and the disciples and us in 2020, and that is their sin. There's Satan. But the good news is there's still a God who defeats both. And that's who we're going to talk about today. Here, Jesus comes and he listens to these lepers and he goes through. So we find this in verse 14 as we go back. He goes up and they cry out, verse 13, it says, and they lifted up their voices saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. And in verse 14, he says, when he saw them, he said to them, go and show yourself to the priest. And as they went, they were cleansed. What do we look at in these points here? They cry out. Notice they cry out for mercy. They don't cry out for healing. They don't say, heal us, just have mercy on us. Now, obviously, they have to cry out. They're 6 feet away from each other. They got to keep their social distancing. They're yelling through a mask. You've had that. It's like ordering at a restaurant now or trying to talk to someone. They have to lift up their voice, and they're yelling across the way to them. And all they can muster is, just have mercy on us. He didn't tell them we're lepers. He knew already. But what's the amazing thing? Jesus answers all of their needs in that one request. How many times has Jesus answered more than what we've asked for? How many times has he answered our needs before we even asked? And when Jesus answers our needs, he answers them completely. But there's one action that goes through, and that's on the part of the lepers. He says, when he saw them, go and show yourself to the priest. And as they went, they were cleansed. That is a step of faith. You notice he didn't say you're healed. They looked at each other. We're healed. Let's go show ourselves to the priest. What did they have to do first? They had to believe him. They had to trust him. They had to put their faith in him. Hey, as we go, we're clean. Now, I'm saying in a group of 10, I guarantee there's a couple of them that are like, yeah, right, this is crazy. I'm going that way. I mean, they could have very easily said that. I don't believe this guy. You heard of this Jesus guy. I didn't. There's uncertainty. They had to put their faith and go. They had to put some action to it. And what we see is this, that God asks that faith is not just demonstrated through lip service, but something that we actually do. This is something that God wants us to do. We see this many times throughout the Bible. We have to have faith in him. Moses, what does he tell him? Go before Pharaoh, and I will tell you what to say. God, I don't speak too well. That's perfect. I got Aaron to go with you. Go, and I'll tell you what to say. Abraham, I want you to move to another land, and I'll tell you when you get there. Now, I don't know about you. If I went home today, I told my wife, pack it up. We're moving on out. Where are we going? I'll let you know when we get there. You know that doghouse I was earlier referenced? I'd be in there. You have no plan, but God says, Abraham, I want you to move to another land. I'll show you when you get there, and he had to go. Abraham, I want you to sacrifice your son. I want you to take him up and sacrifice him. He had to go. He took it there. Where was deliverance? When he was up on the mountain about to sacrifice his son. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, they stand for God. What did they say? Whether you save us from the fiery furnace or not, we will serve the Lord. Where were they saved? In the furnace. They look at the action in which they had. As the lepers went, they have it. Now, have you ever wondered why God does not reveal his entire will to us? I mean, have you ever wondered that? That's what we pray, right? God, just show me what to do. Just tell me what my life's going to be. I'll follow it. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. If God laid out everything in our life, we would try and change it. Let's be honest. We would look at it and we would try and change it. Now, at my house, we play some pretty high-tech games. And one of those games is called Exploding Kittens. Now, I brought this to tell you this is really a true game that does exist. That is it. Now, no animals are harmed in this game, just so you know. Because I know some of you are like, never heard of this, Exploding Kittens, what is wrong with this guy? All right, but we play it. Basically, it's an idea of Russian roulette in a card game. The whole goal is not to explode. You have a deck of cards and you have to draw them out, and you're just hoping that on your turn, you don't pull one that makes you explode. And you have cards that you can kind of go around it, shuffle, make somebody else do it, skip a turn so they have to draw. Well, in the expansion pack, which I do own, not only is there a cone of shame, but there's a special card in there that says, alter the future. Yeah, I know. Ooh. And when you play that special card, you get to look at the next 3 cards in the deck. Just you. You can look at them. And so if you go and you look and you're looking around, not only do you get to look at them, but if you look up that first card, you see an exploding kitten, you get to change that card. And you get to shuffle it. And you get to look and you get to alter the future. So you can set up the next person or you can just save yourself. It doesn't matter. But you get to play that card and look at it. Now, if we had that same card in our life today, can you imagine you play the card and you look at it, and if you're Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they flip up that first card. Ooh, fiery furnace. Let's avoid that. I mean, think about it. Ooh, that doesn't look good. Let's shuffle that one up. Sacrifice son, Abraham. What? Are you kidding? We would change it. And you put on that card, if you were to flip it up, some hardship that you've been through, I myself would too. Financial hardship. Hardship, a loss of some. What? We would change what we had. We would not trust God to go through. We would somehow try and alter that. But God says, no, I want you to go through this because I have a perfect plan for your life. And so here we see that they had to have action. They had to go. The reason they have this is because they want to demonstrate belief that Jesus will follow through, and they have to go show themselves to the priest. Now, as they're going, they're healed, so they demonstrate belief in him, and they have faith. Now, it doesn't tell us exactly the moment that they were healed. It just says as they went, they were healed. We don't know if they're 100 yards, it's a day journey around. We don't know what it is. We don't know if they were going to 2 sections, a different priest and what they have, because you got to remember, when these lepers come together, that was the thing that defined them. It didn't matter if they were rich, poor, Jew, Gentile, Samaritan. It didn't matter. They had leprosy. They were brought together in one group. So as they go, they are healed. They show their faith, they go through. Now, it reminds me of this. As we go, Jesus answers our needs, does he not? As we go through, as we have faith in him, step by step each day. Have you ever wondered why in the Lord's Prayer it says, give us this day our daily bread? Give us this day our daily bread, because he guides us step by step by step. And as we go, we're healed from whatever it is we're going through in life. He heals us as we draw closer to him. So as these lepers are healed, a celebration goes on. And we see in verse 15 and 16, then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice, and he fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. Now he was a Samaritan. They mentioned this not by chance. He's saying that of everyone in the group, the one person they expected not to come back was the Samaritan. But this is the one that was most thankful. 10 people were healed. They all go. Now, if we look at this a little bit, we can speculate. How come just the Samaritan came back? You know, what's going through the minds of these other 9? They were healed as well. Well, if we look at it, we can see, some of them were probably like, you know what? I got a family to get back to. I'm healed. This is second chance. It's great. Some of them are probably just so excited that they're like, you know what? I'm going to take it and run. I'm healed. I have the kiss of death. I have new life. I continue to go on. That's great. I'm just going to go. I'm sure some of them were like going to the priest and they turn around and they're like, hey, Samaritan, where are you going? He said, go to the priest. We're healed. Why would you go back there? Why would you go back to where we had our leprosy camp to find this guy? Why would you go? Now, I also know human nature. I can also probably say, in this group, there's probably a person that was upset of all the time that they lost while they battled the disease of leprosy. Probably bitter. Probably like, man, I can't believe I lost all that time. I can't believe that was all taken from me. We know how human nature is. Sometimes we have so much, the good stuff actually makes us angry. Or we always look at not the good blessings we have, but what we didn't have. We know that's human nature. We have this here, and it's not that far-fetched. There could be some that say, you know what? I just can't believe that I even contracted that disease. I can't believe I had leprosy. I had to go through all those struggles. I'm angry, even though they were healed. You say, how do we know that? Well, let's just look at our society for a little bit. If you make $90,000 or more, you're in the top 10% of the worldwide wealth. If you make $40,000 or more a year, you're in the top 3% of worldwide wealth. But what do we want? It's one more dollar. We're already in the top echelon. We go through and we look at this, and probably the things that I throw away or go to those clothes dumpsters or things like that to enter and clean out my closet would change the lives of many people in third world countries or in villages around the world. We throw out what people value. Think about this. We just don't have a grateful attitude for all that we do have. I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but it's true. We get the nice new car. We love it. It's great. And we got the MDX, and we're happy with it until you're at a stoplight, and the guy pulls up with the MDXi Sport Edition. Wait, what? What? I had the newest edition. This car's horrible. I want that one. We've all seen it play before. Most of the time, we want to look into our children, right? The children are the ungrateful ones, not the adults. Well, I'm going to speak to you teens and children right now, and that's this. It would not kill you to tell your parents thank you today. Just going to say. It would not kill you to tell them thank you. Because according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, it takes $233,610 to raise a child to the age of 17. So when they take away your $1,000 cell phone for a week, we just call that protecting our investment. But sometimes, I know, you get so upset at what you have. I hate you. I can't believe you would do this to me. That spirit and that attitude rises up in us, that we are no longer grateful for what we have. And it's not just that. As adults, we have so many good things that are given to us that even the sight of some things makes our stomach turn. Proverbs talks about too much honey maketh the stomach sick. Now, in my younger days, I had a roommate. And before eating was a sport, we enjoyed eating all we could eat. Everything we did went around, and I had a hollow leg, I had a metabolism that worked a little faster. We loved to eat. When we first married, and he married and I married, we took our wives out. We went to a great Brazilian steakhouse called Fogo de Praça. And I say that way because it's a little piece of heaven on earth. But they had this thing that, you turn it up and it's red, and that means stop bringing food, and then you turn it over and it's green, and they walk up and keep bringing you food. Well, his wife decided to try and turn it to red, and she got her hand slapped. And after 2 hours, the server came up when we finally turned it to red and said, thank you. Not thanks for coming, thank you. Thank you for stopping. Well, we had this one agreement. When he went to law school, we were going to celebrate. We were going to celebrate by all-you-could-eat lobster. That was our thing. We planned it out. He went to school. When you're done, we're going for all-you-can-eat lobster. When he got done, we went to the graduation. We found a place that was doing all-you-could-eat lobster. I'm telling you what, we got up in the morning, we stretched out. I mean, we were ready. We ate very little for breakfast. We just wanted to get everything going. Juice is ready. We stretched out. We went into this place, and we laid out our tools because they were going to bring us whole lobsters. I mean, we had what you crack on. We had our charts, how it's going to do. We had our tubs of butter in the middle. There's just 2 of us, but we wanted a table for 6. All right? We didn't want anything holding us back. I remember after we finished our 2nd lobster, and we ordered our 3rd to come, that there's this couple that was sitting next to us, obviously retired age, and we looked and we were like, we're sorry, we're making too big of a scene of you? And they said, no, we're just enjoying the show. So we enjoyed our 3rd lobster, and we ordered our 4th. I want to tell you, by the end of the 4th lobster, we kind of looked at each other, we're like, I think we're done. We were satisfied, we paid, we went home. And about 4 hours later, the grrr came. The rumble as we sat on the couch going, I am not feeling so good. He's like, me either. Now, since we're in a mixed group, I would just tell you, I was not right for 48 hours. 48 hours, those lobsters got revenge on me. Those tubs of butter got revenge on me. I mean, that was it. So much good food just made me sick. And I want to tell you, as God is my witness, from that time till today, I have not touched a lobster. I have not touched a lobster. I am telling you, even seeing it, I'm just kind of like, oh. People will order it. We'll go to Red Lobster, and even the name, when I go past the tank, I'm like, they're laughing at me. I know it. I go the other way. Crab legs is a different story. But lobster, I'm telling you, I ate so much, it just made me sick. Now, I want to tell you, some of these lepers probably were sitting there. They had so much good given to them and thought they deserved so much, just like we do today, that it just actually makes us sick. It makes us angry that we don't have enough. God gives us so much that sometimes we just turn in our stomach the small blessings and say, this isn't enough for us. But yet we have one here that has the right attitude. He comes back, and I want to tell you today, we need to be the one who are thankful with the attitude of gratitude of everything that God has given us. Every little thing, the fact that we are sitting here breathing, that God cares enough about us, we need to be thankful for that. We need not to be the one that becomes so callous about what we have that we actually look at our blessings and it turns our stomach. And so we have this one here, and I'll reread this verse here. It says, and as they went, they were cleansed, and one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice, and fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. Oh, that our thanksgiving to Jesus would be as loud and as often as our clamoring requests are to him. When is the last time we fell before the feet of Jesus and just said, thank you? Thank you so much for what you have given me. Not, I need this, I didn't get this, work this out, do it. Just fall at his feet with a loud voice and say, praise God for all that he has done. We need to be the one who falls before Jesus' feet, just as this leper did. Now, as we go through, we need to be not only the one that is moved with gratitude and come back to worship at Jesus' feet, but we start seeing a little bit more in verse 17 and 18, which is the heart of this message. And that is this. Then Jesus answered. And here are those questions that I talked about earlier. Then Jesus answered, were not 10 cleansed? Now, the leper's down there. He knows who's there. Remember, the disciples are still here. They're still watching it. If I'm a disciple, I'm going, do I answer that? I mean, we all know there's 10. I mean, we know Jesus can count. He has it. We know the answer to this. He says, were there not 10? Then he asks another question, where are the 9? Probably one of the most convicting questions that you can find. Where are the 9? You say, why is that convicting? Because I really believe that is what God is asking of the church today. Where are the 9? Where are the others? I mean, I've given so much blessing. Where are the others? And we look at this, and these verses give us a deeper meaning of one thing, acknowledging the lordship of Jesus in our lives. See, this one leper realized, I cannot go anywhere. I can't go to my family. I can't go home. I can't go to a priest until I go to Jesus first. Jesus has to be priority in my life. He has to have lordship in my life. I must return to him. I want to be the one who returns to Jesus, not him ask, where's Aaron? I thought I saved him and healed him. Where's Aaron? I don't want that question asked of me. Now, in this, we have something more. He says, was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? The great apologist who just passed, Dr. Ravi Zacharias, he says this about the world today. He says, the world today listens with the eyes and thinks with its feelings. They get news in a 30-second sound bites, and how you feel about it becomes the baseline for reason. But the main reason in the change in society is not in technology, which most people blame. Looking at a phone, watching this. But it's the fact that there are fewer and fewer examples of Jesus being reflected to the world through him. Think about that. The reason is not, we can blame it, it's news, it's that, it's that. The reason is people do not see Jesus in our lives. They do not see him as a priority. Now think about disciples are watching. This is a lesson to them. He's asking this question of this one leper because he's basically telling them, this guy, this Samaritan that the whole world looks down upon is an example of what I want you to be. Think about that. That's hard for a disciple. I'm a disciple. I follow Jesus. Wherever he goes, I go. I get this, I get that. I've walked on water. He saved me. I do this. Sometimes we're that way in church. I do this, I got that. I got perfect attendance for the year 2020, and that was hard to do. We want all of this, and Jesus is saying what you look down upon, he has the right attitude. He's shown action and faith at me. He's the one at my feet. This is what you should look like. Why? Because he recognizes that I, Jesus, is the most important thing in his life. He realized that he is the most important. And people are not seeing that. People don't see the example of Jesus being reflected in our life. Examples like Davian de Veuster. Davian de Veuster, which I have a slide picture for him here, he was a missionary from Belgium on the Hawaiian islands of Molokai. In fact, his brother was called to be a missionary, but he passed away before he could go, and he felt so strongly that the calling should be answered, he himself took his brother's place. In the 1870s, the Hawaiian island was being ravaged with the disease of leprosy. And so it was decided that all those who contracted the disease would be shipped over to this camp on the island of Molokai. Now, many people approached Damien and said, you need to keep your distance. You need to stay away from them. But when he arrived at the camp and what he saw in the faces, he realized that he could not minister and be Jesus to them from a distance. He needed to get in there and be hands-on. So that is what he did. He spent 16 years of his life at that camp. And he tended to the needs of men, women, and children that were sent there basically to die. He was their pastor, their physician, their caretaker, their friend, their provider. He bandaged their wounds. He met their spiritual needs. Then one morning he was cooking breakfast, and a pot of boiling water spilled on his foot. And it took him a moment to realize that he could not feel the burn. And so he took a little more boiling water and put it on his other foot and realized that he could not feel that as well. And there was a stark realization that crossed over him, and he realized that he had contracted the deadly disease of leprosy. He usually started all of his messages with my fellow believers, but that morning he went in it and he said, "My fellow lepers," and greeted them. He passed away April 15th, 1889. He was originally buried there in Malawi, but the Belgian government, because of his work and his family there, wanted to exhume his body and bring him back home. All those on the island and the lepers begged them, "Please do not take his body from us. He meant so much to us." And the Belgian government said, "He must come home." So they came to an agreement. And the islanders just asked one thing: would you please just remove his right hand? And if you go there today, just his right hand is buried. And they said, please leave his right hand and bury it on the island, because that is the hand God used to touch us. That is the hand God used to touch us. Oh, that it would have such a powerful thing to be said about us on the church. Oh, that was the hand God used to touch us. Oh, that we would go out and not just think of ourselves, but go back and touch other people's lives. To go out and say, it doesn't matter the cost, I want to reach somebody else for you, God. That's all that matters. Life, death, it doesn't matter. It is all for you. Now we look at this because people are looking for an example of Christ to be lived out. This one leper lives out that example. However, in order for us to live this out, we ourselves must make Jesus the top priority in our life. I'm sure the other 9 had plenty of good reasons not to come back to Jesus. Good reasons. I gotta get back. My family needs me. I have nothing against family. I love my family. But if I want to be the best father I can be, I have to come to Jesus first before I can go to my family. He must be top priority. Maybe some of them were Jews. They were scholars. They had to get back. Education is great. I love it. I'm proud of my kids that do well. I'm proud of all the kids at our church that do well. But they must come to Jesus first, or it's all for naught. We must come back to Jesus and make him the priority of our life, our time schedules. He must be first, or it's all for naught. That is what this leper is saying when he comes through, and he says this, that God, you are number one. Jesus, none of this is possible. I don't need to go see the priest. I don't need to go to my family, return home. God, I must come to you. I must fall at your feet. You must be number one in my life. That is the example, the powerful example that we see here from this one leper. Then he goes into this last one where he says, was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? In this, I can almost hear the anguish Jesus asked that question in. You know, the first 2, where are the other 9? They're kind of rhetorical. But we all know those questions that are asked that you can feel the answer in it. You've been asked those questions. You can feel the pain or what's being asked in it. And I can hear Jesus basically saying, am I not enough? Like, was I not enough to draw the other 9 to come back to me? We've had this happen. I don't know about you. I know all of you are so fun to be hang around and you never had this situation happen to you, but it's happened to me. Where I have my kids that are going out and they're going with friends, but something works out where one of them can't. And they say, great, I'm just stuck home with my parents. And I'm sitting right there. Like I'm saying, I'm right here. Like, what am I, chopped liver? You know, that kind of feeling like, oh, I'm sorry, I just disappointed you in life. I'm just sorry, there's nothing good for you to be able to have, and you can't go out with your friends that are so much better than me. We've kind of all had that feeling, have we not? Where we realize we're like, what, am I not enough? I say that in jest, but Jesus is saying that in all seriousness. He is saying this to the disciples. He's saying it to the leper. He goes, I have healed you and taken away a disease. Am I not enough for you to come back to me? Have I not done enough to draw you back to me? And I think this question continues to go on, not just to the leper, but it echoes from the chambers of heaven, from God himself to us today. It's questions like this: I have formed you in your mother's womb before you were even a thought. Am I not enough? I know the numbers of the hairs on your head. Am I still not enough? I make your cup run over with blessings every single day. Am I not enough? My mercies are new every single morning. Not the same ones, but they are new every single morning. Am I not enough for you to come back to me? I broke the chains of addiction from your life and bondage. Am I not enough? I gave strength while you were hurting and helped you in the healing. Am I not enough? I sent my only son to provide salvation. Am I not enough? I watched him be beaten, tortured, mocked, nailed to a cross for you. Am I not enough? He took your sin on your behalf so you could stand before me, God, blameless. Am I not enough? I have placed you in my hand so that no man may pluck you out and remove you. No harm will come to you. I will protect you. I will be your stronghold in times of trouble. Am I not enough? Am I not worthy of your time? I have given my first fruits of my son, Jesus, to you. Why do you keep putting other things before me? And I want to tell you that the most important part of this passage is to be the one that puts God first. Be the one, just as this leopard returned, to make him the most important priority in your life and come to him first each and every day. Make him a priority. Make him a priority. Make him number one. Make him the most important. And we don't do it with lip service, we do it with action. Make him number one in your life. You see, we're all lepers here, if we look at it. In verse 19 it says, and he said to him, rise and go your way, your faith has made you well. If you're here and you're not saved, this is what Jesus did. See, Jesus didn't just heal his physical needs, but here as the one came back to him, saved him. When he says your faith has made you well. See, we are all lepers. We all have this leprosy. It is a disease called sin, which separates us from God, and which we have no answer for. We can't heal ourselves. And in fact, we have to cry out to Jesus, Jesus, save us. Have mercy upon us. And that's exactly what Jesus did a few years later from this passage that we're talking about right here. We talked about Abraham sacrificing his son up on the mountain. And Jesus said, stop, I will be the propitiation. I will be the substitute. And he stopped the axe from falling that day. But later on, he let his son go up to the cross, and God did not stop the axe. He said he will be sacrificed on their behalf for all mankind so that they can have salvation for me. And I want to tell you at that moment when he died and he rose again, my God is enough. My Jesus is enough. And if you are not saved, you can be the one who receives him as your personal Savior because he has the answer to the disease called sin and separation from God. See, he did that and he offers it as a free gift of salvation. He offers it because he came to seek and to save that which is lost. He wants no greater desire than to have those turn back to him, say, thank you, God, for what you have done for me. And if we are sitting here and you have received that salvation and that gift that Jesus had given us, that God has made a way for us, oh, that we would be the one that returns to him in thankful gratitude. Oh, that we would be the one that says, God, whatever you ask of me, I will do. Because what you have done for me, it is enough that I make you the number one priority in my life.